Patch 7.4 is over and done with for the most part, thanks to last week's Criterion and Variant dungeon release. That means there is just one major patch left in Dawntrail's lifetime, and we'll be starting to learn about it really soon. Friday, in fact, seeing as that's when the first live letter takes place. It'll be a whole lot of talking, rather than a whole lot of showing or patch trailer playing, but it's here that we'll learn from the horse's mouth what content is promised for patch 7.5. But I have some serious concerns about this patch if I'm being totally honest. They've overpromised, and I am genuinely not sure if they can deliver. At least, not all of it. So let's talk about it today. Before we begin, if you want to support FF14 discussions, please do consider subscribing. So, Dawntrail has been a weird expansion for FF14. Player counts are down from the highs that were Shadowbringers and Endwalker, and sentiment overall is definitely more split on various aspects of the game than they were back then. Toxic positivity is being counterbalanced by rampant negativity, and at times it can definitely be a little bit draining. Despite that, we have received some insanely good battle content when it comes to raiding thanks to the various iterations of the Arcadian, acting as a promise of things to come in the future. Before Dawntrail, the team at Square Enix promised us a renaissance of battle content, and for the most part, in my opinion, they delivered. But 7.5 comes out soon, and I would argue that it is the most pivotal patch of the entire expansion, and the one that Square Enix desperately needs to get right. They've had a lot of misses with this expansion. Occult Crescent and the Forked Tower were rough, if I'm being honest, and more recently a slew of controversy surrounding the rewards for Quantum and Criterion were less than ideal. They could really use a win, especially with this patch acting as the prelude to the next expansion, likely setting the community mood coming into whatever is next for the MMORPG. A great patch garnering positive sentiment is the outcome they are hoping for. That isn't the only reason it's pivotal though. 7.5 is notable for a second reason, and that is because for some reason they have promised so much content to release during these handful of months. I'm pretty sure that if all of it released as expected, it will be the most content-dense patch in the game's history. I do just want to spend a few minutes emphasizing that fact by going through the list of content we are expecting to have throughout the 7.5 patch cycle, and this does include one or two items that aren't officially confirmed but have fallen through thus far, so we're still awaiting either an explanation or for them to come out already as well. So firstly, we are poised to receive 2 story patches, with one coming in patch 7.5 and the other a couple of months later in 7.55. These will act to wrap up the expansion and lead us directly into 8.0, and it's fair to say that these are safe and absolutely on track. There will also be all the Day 1 content alongside it. The third part of the Final Fantasy XI themed Alliance raid should release, and considering that the first 2 were quite fun, I'm looking forward to doing this one, at least the first time. There will also be a new dungeon and trial linked to the main story, as well as an extreme version of that trial, and an unreal of an older trial, likely from Stormblood, or potentially Shadowbringers at a push. This stuff is a given, and is the standard when it comes to patch release day content, and I'm sure it'll keep players busy for either a couple of days or longer if they plan to farm the extreme trial for the mount. It'll be a good patch to be farming that actually, because we should be receiving the end of expansion Giga mount for collecting all of the wings. We are also slated to receive a new Ultimate, presumably 2 weeks after the initial patch in 7.51. Considering the Ultimate was predicted to be 7.3, and Square Enix mentioned that this time it would release at the end of the expansion instead, my estimation is that it's essentially a lock at this point. The theming we are not so sure of, though I am confident I'm not alone in saying that I'm clamouring for an Ascian Shadowbringers themed Ultimate, pulling together the storytelling threads into hopefully an absolute banger of a challenge mode. Whatever they do, I will be here for it. So that's a fairly dense first 2 weeks of the patch and is on pace with what we generally expect from an odd patch in the game, but here's where things start stacking up. Next, we have been promised a second zone for Occult Crescent, as well as a second raid at the end of it akin to Forked Tower. Considering Forked Tower's reception, and the fact that we have also been promised a more pug-friendly difficulty of the original Forked Tower too, the development team have their work cut out for them here. So that's a new zone, a new raid, a content update to the old raid, and they can't even copy and paste the structure they used in 7.25 because it was so poorly received by the community at large. Parts of it were good, but parts of it were flat out bad. A new design philosophy will be required to make it really shine, but putting that together and having it reflect in the end product takes a lot of time. Yes, they've had a year, but has it been their focus with so much else going on? Honestly, I'm intrigued to see what happens here. It'll definitely release, but will it be completely different to South Horn? Or will they throw in the towel and chalk it up as a loss, refocusing on next expansion? There is also supposed to be yet another cosmic exploration planet. This is a piece of content I haven't engaged with all that much. Crafting is very much not my thing anymore, but they have been pumping these out like hotcakes. Considering they have a system here that seemingly works very well, it's likely going to be no problem whatsoever. But then, we come to the matter of Beastmaster, a brand new limited job that promises to not follow in the steps of Blue Mage, but to instead have its own bespoke content and identity in some form. It's fair to guess that it focuses on capturing monsters and either training them or using them as your abilities in some way, and that the leveling system will at least bear some resemblance to Blue Mage. But the limited job experiment was not exactly the smash hit success they were hoping for initially, so they shelved it for so long. They have to have some really good ideas to bring to the table here to be resurrecting it, and more than that, using it as one of their major selling points for dawntrail's post-launch content on the whole. It's better late than never, I suppose, but I am slightly nervous about what form this job will actually have. It can't be another Blue Mage, it has to excite and offer something fully unique. How meaty is it? How long do they expect it to last, players? Is there any reason to return to it after the leveling process? Will we get more than one update per expansion? I have a lot of questions, basically. That brings me to Blue Mage. Blue Mage patches traditionally fall on 0.45, which has just come and passed without a peep. Are we skipping an expansion? Is this the curl of the monkey's paw, that we'll still only get one limited job update per expansion and they plan to just bounce back and forth between the two? Will it instead release in 7.5's patch cycle? Or is it delayed entirely until next expansion? Whatever the answer is, I'm okay with it, but I would really like to see some kind of communication here from Square Enix. We should also be getting at least one additional Relic step, or maybe two. I suppose that depends how they decide to design it. Sometimes they've done 4 steps, and in that case we'd get one more. In others they've done more, and we've gotten 2 from this point, if I remember correctly. Maybe I misremember, I don't know. Either way, this Relic has been a weird one for me. I like parts of it, it's better than Endwalker at least. I'm a fan of the system that they have with the first completion being a quote-unquote proper Relic step, and then afterwards you get the tomestones for subsequent relics. I think that's a decent middle ground. But this Relic has still mostly failed at being interesting, and they've also broken their promise of allowing you to complete it fully in Occult Crescent if you wish. That feels like it was probably a bit of a course correction after OC's shoddy reception, honestly. I hope this last step is fun, at least. I suppose we'll see soon enough. And yes, the list is still not over. We should be getting side quests like Hildebrand as well, and maybe Allied Society's culmination quest for Dawntrail, but more importantly, we are also due a major housing update. This one seemingly gets delayed every time they dare speak about it, but it has been promised for 7.5, and surely they have to deliver now. This includes features such as being able to upgrade your interior size even whilst owning a smaller house, as well as an increased interior furnishing limit. These next options are more speculative, but there is also the chance we get an end of expansion trial. These are somewhat 50-50, but we've gotten some in the past, like Odin and the Gilded Araya. It's something to hope for at least. next is a speculative second chaotic or Criterion. I think this is fairly unlikely and kind of cope at this point, and we've had our lot for the whole expansion, but there's always a chance. But what I think is far more likely to fill that spot is that, lastly, off the top of my head, is the content that Masaki Nakagawa is working on, whatever it may be. You likely recognize him for his work on some of the game's toughest and most memorable raids, but he has been working on a new project for patch 7.5 since at least last year, which he claims is quote-unquote a major piece of content for 7.5x, and something new and fresh for Final Fantasy XIV. It could be Beastmaster, at least that seems like the only thing from the list above that might fit the bill, or it could be something else entirely. I hope it's the latter, because if so, it would be the most exciting part of the entire patch for me. But adding all of that together is a bloody insane list if you think about it. There's so much content, things for everybody. Raiders, crafters, casual players, group content, and pieces that you can dive into solo. A really promising portfolio. I'll be seriously impressed if they're able to deliver on all of that without delaying anything until next expansion. And if it turns out to be good as well, have they overpromised, or will it be a patch to remember? Honestly, I have no idea. I have a feeling that something has to give. 1 or 2 entries being delayed until next expansion, or something like that. And if it happens, I can't really blame them, honestly. Either way, we will find out more on Friday the 13th. Unlucky for some, but hopefully it'll bring great fortune for Final Fantasy XIV. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do consider supporting my Patreon or becoming a YouTube member like these fine folk, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.